All right, we're back from our break, which was much needed. So I guess this is the next episode, chapter 2. We were talking about marriage, and the thing that we have been speaking about a lot, whether directly or indirectly, is love. And before we can speak more about it, we should find the definition of love. Abuna, what exactly is love?
Wow. Can you touch love? Can you see love? You can feel love, but the definition of love is I think some wise a wise man said the human being has been trying to describe love since beginning of time, and still we're not finished. All the love songs, all the heartbroken songs, but love. How should we describe this? But love within marriage, at least, love within life, love within faith, love within life. It is a foundation. We cannot escape the foundation of love within God, the Creator, within His creation, His acting of creation, which goes forward, but also what He founded in our lives, love. And He expects us from us also. There are, of course, different kinds of love, different kinds of experiencing and also expressing love.
Is being in love, for example, the same thing as love?
No, definitely not. Being in love or falling in love, in Swedish language, I think it's a very good definition. In Swedish, falling in love is in Swedish förälskelse. Förälskelse. Föreälska. Before you love. So before love comes falling in love. And that's also some kind of a state. I don't say state of a person, but it's a state of circumstance where maybe if you fall in love, a young man and a young woman, it's about the feelings, the emotions, the expectations, the view, which is also, I would say, from God created, this first attraction. I see something from far away, a red flower within the grass field. Oh, the red color attracts me. I want to go there to take a better look. So I get closer, I take a better look, I smell, I touch, I feel, I like this. And then a relation can begin. I don't say now a love relation, but getting to know each other, and then people can fall in love. People can say, hey, maybe this is something for me. Maybe I want to fulfill God's calling and condition for marriage with this person. So when they start to think about that, and then emotions help everything to move much easier, quicker, faster. But to move, that's a state of falling in love. It's not love. Everything is perfect, although it's not perfect, but everything looks perfect. It's glasses where you think my future partner, my future husband or my future wife looks the best, looks perfect, laughs like angels are praising. Everything is perfect. Honey, sweet, golden, beautiful, perfect. What happens afterwards, when falling in love state, the state before love, ends, and they say there is a theory, I believe in this theory, they say that falling in love state, minimum half a year, if it's a serious relation, to a year, maybe 1.5 year, maximum 2 years. Then falling in love needs to be away, and then it switches to love or it will end. If it switches to love after this before love, falling in love state, if it switches to love, then love says the glasses of before love are away, and then I see it as it is. Oh, apparently my future wife was not as beautiful as I thought she was, but love says, but I don't care. I still want to marry her. I still want her to be the children of the mother of my children. I still want to grow old with her. I still want to. And that is love. And of course, the other way around, if the young woman thinks that she has a young man, tall, handsome, six-pack, muscular, and career and everything, and then that image goes away, and she says, "Oh, the six-pack was maybe not; it was more like a round thing." But if we just to give it an imagination, but she says, "I still want to marry him because I know his heart now. I know what material he is." Love says, "I still want to marry him for the rest of my life. I still want to continue." Not like, "Oh, okay, I can't get in with this. I'll settle with this." No, love will say, not only I will settle with this, I want this. I still want.
So it's not just to be clear, it's not a feeling, at least it's not just a feeling. It's not about infatuation or the state of having this feeling that you like someone and that you're a little bit, as you said, blind for love. But it's also like an active choice, you could say. Like it's really an active and conscious choice to love someone. It's an act, it's not a feeling.
No. It's definitely also an act. But you cannot say that emotions and feelings are not involved. But this is, I would say, this is living love. This is living life. This is living marriage. This is it. I just take one example. I don't judge anyone. I'm a son of my mother. My wife is a woman. I have 3 sisters, many cousins of the female gender. So I don't judge anyone with this. But we know that women wear makeup. And the word makeup means something is made up. Something is not real. I don't judge. Okay? So when we go out on a date, we see a young woman. She looks good. She has makeup. Prima. Fine. After makeup, maybe I went very early to just give her a bouquet of flowers, give something to her mother, and she opens the door. She doesn't expect me, and she's not in her makeup. I think, oh, this is not the image that I had. But it doesn't affect me. I don't marry makeup. Makeup, I could say it's also like clothes. Today I wear black, tomorrow I wear not. Okay. But it's, you have to also then live it. And in the beginning of before marriage, before love, in the falling in love part, we also do our best. Afterwards, we get comfortable with each other. We don't need to do our best to put our best effort for each other. We already rest on each other's hearts. It's not necessary. And my wife, yani, of course, if she wears a nice clothes, I would say I'm khashafartuhat, but I can say also, you look good. If she also doesn't wear the best clothes, my head can rest on her heart and her head can rest on my heart. Khalas. I know, Ya Rab, forgive me. I'm a good-looking young priest. But no, God is good. But I know I'm not as good-looking as I was. And today, I have to also say this. Mariam, if you listen to this, congratulations. We've been married today 8 years. Taudi. So she's put up with me for 8 years. That means that she's a very good woman. And of course, I looked better 8 years ago. At least I think so. I look at my gray hair and my gray beard and everything. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Khalas. It doesn't matter for man or for woman. And if we come to that, I don't know, maybe in episode 1, I wanted to touch this, but maybe now we will come back to it. In the Bible, a very favorite quote of mine, but I don't know it in English, so I will look it up in English. I know it in Swedish. Should I say it in Swedish? Förälskelse kan bedra och skönhet är en vindfläkt, men prisas skall den hustru som fruktar Herren.
Something med bedrog.
In
I think we can put subtitles.
Yeah.
oh
Yes.
But we still need to know what he's talking about.
We
though.
need to know. Yeah.
in the Proverbs,
Yeah.
in the very last chapter 31, there is about the good wife, the virtuous wife or the good wife. And
Proverbs chapter 31.
Proverbs 31. I like this passage. Before I even knew my wife, that she existed, I liked this because it was not only for a wife, it was also for a human being. But a good wife, because this is life, marriage is also life, going forward, going further with God's creation. God put this in his instruction manual for our lives. So Proverbs 31, there is a passage about the good wife. And it begins also very good with a question mark, and then with continuous, he says, who can find a virtuous wife? Who can find a good wife? For her worth is far above rubies, and the heart of her husband safely trusts her. Okay, and then we go forward. The very, very last verse, okay, the two last verses. Charm is deceitful, and beauty is passing. But a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Charm is deceitful, beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. So, we know that flowers, they will blossom, and then they will, what's it called? Wither. Not only a woman will blossom and wither, she will grow old, get gray hair. Also the man. I'm not as handsome as I was 8 years ago. It doesn't matter. My wife, I can honestly say, she's still as beautiful in my eyes as she was 8 years ago. But it doesn't matter. My heart can, and my head can rest on her heart, because I know at least in some essence she has fear of God. She has a good heart. She has faith. She has values. She is a woman, but she's a wife, and she's a mother. I have everything I need. Beauty would be bonus, not even necessary. And charm, the same thing. And I cannot take that away from the state of falling in love. It needs to be there. But we need to think about when that switch comes, and that switch will come for all married couples, that it doesn't matter. Love prevails.
But is that because you said it, Joseph, before the break? Is it something that needs to be there, to be in love? Many parents of the people who are listening, young people especially, got married not because they fell in love with each other first, but it was, well, family A came to family B, khalas, it was a done deal. They got married.
It was not only as a deal between the families, it was the fear of God. Exactly what we read now. I will explain it. I have a theory of my own. I don't know if anyone has it before me, but that doesn't matter. But there are two ways of getting married right now in this day of this age of time. One way is the old school. Old school means we marry in faith, haymonutho, and dihlathaluhu, fear of God. Okay? And we know what our calling is. We know that it's not about getting to make a career or this or that. It's about getting married. It's about fulfilling God's will. They knew it. 50 years ago, they knew it. They didn't even consider anything else. Everything around marriage was bonus. What you did, how you were. They knew God wanted you to find yourself a wife. Go get yourself a wife. Whatever, however, if your father, you have faith in your father, you have fear of God, you have faith in and respect in your father. He says, Abri, this is a good daughter, a future wife. Father, I trust you. I trust your choice for me. Maybe sometimes it wasn't. Maybe they were also not good enough sometimes to live it. We cannot judge anyone. But that was the way. Still, it is apparent, but very less. You marry with faith and fear of God. And love grows. I can promise you, even 50 years ago, 100 years ago, in our places, if we say Tor Abdi in our home countries, if the man didn't even have 1 inch, centimeter, we speak English now, love or falling in love with his future wife, they got married, like you explained, I can promise that when the woman shows her tenderness towards her husband, his heart will soften, melt, and he will begin to love her. And he will begin to love her, but he will love her even more the day that he will become father through her. Who made him a father? His wife. Maybe he will not even say one word. Not even one word. Habibto, Rahmto, my beloved one, I love you. You made me a father. Not one word, but their hearts, they speak to each other. They knew it. And although he didn't say it, she was his crown of life. 100%. Everyone who's watching, listening, you here, ask your parents and your grandparents, if I'm wrong, then correct me. But I know it. Version number 2 to getting married is the new school. In new school, you don't have faith as much. You don't have fear of God as much. We trust ourselves a little bit too much. I don't say it's wrong, but a little bit too much. We need to get to know each other. We need to get to know each other. Then I can accept you. So, we go out on dates or we get to know each other. Now, today's maybe social media or this or that. We ask, when in my mind and maybe also a little bit in my heart, I have accepted you, I can see you as my future partner. But of course, then I have conditions and we bargain and we give and we take it, and it leads to marriage. But in that process, we also fall in love because we have that time. We fall in love, but then falling in love needs to switch to love. If it does, it's a good sign. But even better if we put Christ in the middle. We need to put Christ in the middle. Also in the process of falling in love, today to get to know each other, but also afterwards. And there we have a big challenge.
So that love is a very important part of marriage. And then there is a group of people, let's call them alphabet people, that will say that, well, if love is the main ingredient and love is love, why not accept that as well? Why should marriage only be with a man and a woman?
I think I defined marriage in episode number 1. What is marriage? Then we have other relations. Let them call their relations whatever they want, but not marriage. Marriage is holy. Marriage is from God. Marriage is, per definition, what God has created and intended. And people cannot kidnap that word, that expression, and also that concept. Punt. End of discussion. So, whatever, whoever, I don't judge anyone. It's not my job and my mission to judge. God judges. But I have a responsibility for the faith that my Lord entrusted me. I'm not even worthy. Marriage, holy marriage, marriage as a concept, marriage from God is marriage as God intended it to. Not as I intended it to. Not as man intended, as God intended, founded, created, made between one man, one woman. Bringing them together, blessing them, giving them a mission that only man and woman in true biology can fulfill. End of discussion.
Right.
If people want to go another path, another way that is not according to God, people are free, but people will be judged. I am not better than anyone. I will also be judged. But we can definitely choose to follow God's will or to follow our own will, or maybe far from anyone, the will of our enemy. خلاص.
I do have a few thoughts on that. When we talk about this cult of the alphabet people, let's say, I think the reason that a man and a man and a woman, besides the biological aspects, as Abuna just said, is not right and is not proper is because something that we've already discussed in episode 1, which is that marriage is a foreshadowing of the heavenly marriage. The reason that priests are always men and they can never be women, no matter how much we go on in time, this fantasy of having women enter the priesthood is impossible, because priesthood is something that's coming down from Jesus, and as they are the image of Jesus, so Jesus was a man and priests can only be men. And the same way as marriage is the image of the heavenly marriage between the heavenly bridegroom and us, the bride, which is the church, marriage can only be between a man and a woman. Obviously, there are biological aspects where there can be life and all of this, and that's all besides the point. I think it's very clear why marriage can only be between a man and a woman. Besides that point, I think it's very important to focus on the point. We just asked the question, what is love? Obviously, I don't think that the people that think this way understand that love is not about taking. It's not lust. We have not spoken about lust for this as of right now, but I think lust is about taking. You want to fulfill your desires, lust. You're greedy and you want something to fulfill the emptiness inside you, and so you're looking for something, and maybe you find it and you take it and you devour it. You don't consume it, you devour it. While in love, we try to give, and the giving fulfills us. God says in the Bible, the greatest love is to lay down your life for a friend. It's about giving.
I will interrupt you
Yes.
by just referring back to God's plan. Also, if the concept or the expression of marriage, what is God's plan? Also, in the concept, if it is from creation or our concept of marriage, what is God's plan? 100 years ago, they knew it, programmed in them. They did not get confused by what we are getting confused now by society. They fulfilled God's plan. Of course, there were also in history egoistic people, lustful people, people who wanted only to consume for themselves, what you just described. But marriage was marriage. Marriage was sacred. These things were outside marriage. What is happening now is that strategically, human beings, our enemy, they are wanting to get inside of our concept of marriage. And if we now talk about the parallel of, or the what is love, what is lust, what is me fulfilling God's plan, or what is me fulfilling my own plan? I don't care. Outside of Christianity, outside of our faithfulness, outside of marriage, I don't care. Let's just say, talk about the human being fulfilling or God's plan or fulfilling his own plan. Do I want me, I, mine, or do I put Jesus in the center? I can also say, Jesus is here. I put an image of Jesus on something, but behind that image, I have another God, another Lord. So people do that also. They kidnap our faithful expressions, symbols, or whatever. So someone can say, this is also marriage between not man and woman, or this, whatever. Then they don't fulfill God's plan. They fulfill their own plan. And if we talk about love, if God is love, if God created in love, and God made in love, and God, his relation within his Trinitarian self is love, and he wants and expects us from love. And you say a good expression, love is giving, not taking. Lust is devouring and consuming. We can see that other ideologies wrong ideas of life, wrong perspectives of life. They want to feed themselves, feed their egos, feed their lust. They don't want to fulfill God's will. That's according to me. In the end, judge, it's the Lord. It's not me. But what I see, what I have been taught and instructed from the very beginning, from Lord God, creator of everything, source of everything, and until today, I can see. Even if unfaithful people, still they don't maybe believe in God, but they can still see nature and biology, they can still also agree with me. It is very apparent and obvious and clear. The question is, do I shut my eyes or do I have other glasses on? But love, definitely main ingredients in family life. I don't say only marriage, in family life. Maybe it's not there in the beginning, but it will grow. And it needs to be stability. Lust, myself, me, I. It doesn't matter if it is flesh, lust, the bodily lust, intimacy, sexuality. It's not only that, but also the perspective of me, not melting together, man and woman, husband and wife. You have a problem. You go against God. You don't fulfill God's will or calling.
Could we say, Abuna, that marriage is kind of a safe haven for children to grow up in, a new Christian generation to grow up in which our tradition, in which our faith is preserved, and thus it's transcending the earthly love. It's a responsibility also. It's also about the bigger picture. It's not about only a feeling, but it's about preserving and creating a new generation of God-fearing Christians. Could we say that God-fearing, not in a negative sense that I'm afraid of God, but God-fearing, that you're in awe with His beauty and His greatness, that is the main focus of a marriage?
Marriage is not only a safe haven. Marriage is the only haven for children.
Right.
According to God's plan. He created, He brought together, He blessed, and He gave His instruction. Humankind followed his own will. Also from the beginning. They did not always follow God's will. That's why also Adam and Eve fell. But God's plan still exists. God's plan is still active. God has still His intention for us. And today, most definitely, we are now living today, we need to fulfill God's will. We need to get married. We need to fulfill the calling of marriage. And we need to bring forth children to continue God's creation. But we also need to raise them within family according to how God wants us to raise them. We need to feed them love, most definitely. True love, not false love, not lust, not egoism, not this, not that. True love, but we also need to feed them the instructions of God. That's the only way I would say you can truly raise children.
Right.
We are trying, even we as Christians, if we are Syrian Orthodox Christians, faithful, we are not perfect. We are also human beings, but we need to have the ambition and we need to try our best in bringing them up. Love is definitely foundation. You need to feed children love, true love, and also you need to teach them the love of God. From God down to humankind, but also we need to love God, and then we need to take care of them in everything that we need to take care of them, earthly also.
From everything you just said, I think this conversation can go a lot of different ways, but the problem is that I do want to go those ways, but we also have the questions from the viewers that we need answered. But I do want to focus on one point very shortly. There is this this idea in new couples, especially modern couples, they think like before they get married, I want to have this many kids, or I want to have 2. That's
Right.
nice on the picture. I want to have 3 because more doesn't fit in the car. Or if I have 4, maybe I can go only once on vacation, not twice. How? No, I'll leave it to you. What's your opinion?
What's
about
my
this?
opinion about that?
Don't worry. If it's
God
not,
created-
it's not good, we're gonna cut it out.
God created minivans.
Yes.
Solution. If you can't get a car, 2-door car or whatever, get the minivan. 6, 7, 9 seats. And then they made it a lot more difficult when they made the insurance and the cost of the minivan, and they don't give you what's it called? Maybe financial help to get. Look, if we talk about children and planning of marriage and family life, it's already wrong according to the concept of God. He didn't limit it. He gave the commandment, the order, the commandment order, but the mission. Frau wasgau, wamlau yar'u. Make children fill the earth. He didn't say 1, 2, 5. That's up to him. We teach new couples before marriage, also after marriage, if they have problems, whatever. We teach this. Children are a gift from God. Children are a gift from God. If He gives, when He gives, how many He gives, in what way He gives, boy or girl. Children are a gift from God. Within marriage, young man and young woman who has an intention of getting into marriage, it's a condition that they need to want to have children. No one can say, I want to get married, but I don't want to have any kids. You cannot get married because then you don't want to fulfill God's intention with marriage. That is egoism. That is, I wouldn't say only lust, but it's wrong. It's not, okay, you love your future wife, give her children, make her a mother. But you have to love God first. He's the creator of everything. He can take your wife away from you whenever, before marriage, after marriage. Fulfill His plan. So they need to want to have children. Secondly, husband and wife, not before, husband and wife need to also do theirs to make love. Children are fruit of love, fruit of life.
Right.
So God created and gave intimacy as a gift within marriage between husband and wife, not more, not less. End of discussion. But after that, when we as human beings do ours, we need to have faith in God and also have faith in God. Children are a gift from God. If He gives, maybe He will not give. When He gives, maybe after half a year, maybe after 10 years, maybe like Zechariah and Elizabeth. They didn't bear any children, although they were righteous and good people, everything. God didn't grant them children until their very late age. And then they got one child. A son. But what a son. In the end He gave. But there are other people who didn't get. And if He gives, when He gives, and then how many? Maybe Elizabeth and Zechariah got one son. Maybe someone will get 10. Maybe someone will get 10 girls and they just pray, please God give me one son. And then they get 11th girl, 11th daughter. It's His will. We cannot say anything. I will share something personal about this also. Everything is from God. According to the doctors, my wife, in her ill state, we talked about this a little bit in episode 1, with her terminal diagnosis and illness and everything, according to the doctors, according to her medical dossier, she could not bear children. My wife could not get pregnant. Okay? We are very grateful to God because, God is God. We went to Mor Gabriel Monastery again, we prayed, and God granted. God gave in a natural way. After half a year, my wife was pregnant. We went to the doctors, and they knew, of course, about her state. And I said, yeah, my wife is pregnant. And the doctor couldn't believe it first. I said, okay, make an echo. Oh, she's pregnant. Duh, she's pregnant. We prayed, God gave. I don't need to share the other part of the story where the unfaithful doctor said something else. Of course, he had concerns about the what's it called? The health of my wife, the condition, the health of my wife. So he gave a non-Christian advice. But in the end, I said, my wife is now your VIP patient. Take care of her. And honestly, they took care of her very good. No complaints. But God gave. God gave. And she gave birth to our son in good health, everything. But right now, we only have one son. Maybe God will give us more. Maybe he will not give us more. I cannot say anything. We are very blessed. But it's up to him. Nothing else. And I say this to all future couples about children. Don't make too many plans. Let love be and let God also do his thing. Of course, society out there pushes us and forces us to think. We think about how will we fit in a car, in transportation. They force us to think about this. About housing, about living, about taking care. It is very difficult and complex. I cannot carry this complexity for all the people out there. I cannot. But let's put God in the middle. Let's do our best for that. And children are definitely a blessing. Fruit of love, fruit of life. The Bible says it also, may they be like olive plants around your table. Perfect.
I also think that is why it's so important to advise young couples always to speak with their spiritual father. Because a lot of issues people have with not having a lot of children or fears stem from things that are put upon us by society. For example,
most definitely.
One of the things I hear a lot is, yeah, but if I have 10 children instead of 2, I will not be able to buy them this kind of shoes, those kinds of shirts. They got bullied at school. And I really don't understand where that is coming from. Is that a fear maybe of being rejected by the world? Abuna, how do you advise these people? Is it, let's make it even more controversial, is it a sin, haditho, to not want more children because you fear of not having enough vacations, not fitting in the car, not having those specific clothing?
Or even maybe because you know how hard it is to raise children.
Or you don't want
it's
to.
Just personal.
Yeah, you don't have the energy for it. Is that wrong? Is that... Because I looked to my right, I saw someone behind the camera. When you said it's egocentric, they were like shocked, like, how can you say such a thing? I fully agree, by the way, but what would you say to these people?
Life is complex. Life is dynamic. As I said, I would not carry their burdens and complexity. If I would have 10 sons right now, maybe I would also say uft upuft. Maybe I would also complain. I have only one son, one problem, one burden to carry. He's a blessing in our life. Shout out to Gabriel. I love you. Gabriel, our son, of course. I cannot carry. But we need to also not be too extreme to say what is sin in this matter and what is not sin. We can say what is correct. We can say what is more correct. And we can also say what is closer to God's will. There is a very big problem, and it has been from day one for humankind, to also follow and fulfill God's will. We see it in the Bible. We see it in our lives. We see it also outside the Bible, how people live their lives. This is a challenge. I think in this challenge, it is important to have an ambition. it is important to put God someplace in your life and not someplace outside your life, but please not push him in a corner. Try as much as possible to have him in the center and try to then live according to him and let him also bless your life. It is difficult. I cannot say no, because when we see that society forces us with lifetime, with ages, what I mean is when you're supposed to study, when you're supposed to be finished with studies, when you're supposed to live a couple of years, working a couple of years, experience a couple of years, and then make career, and then this, and then if you want to settle yourself and make a family, they make it difficult also for man, but also for woman. It is difficult. They carry this burden. It is really difficult. What we can do is to counterbalance this a little bit and give them faith. Give them faith to teach them and to show them to put God in the middle, but also to then have that leap of faith in your life to try to fulfill God's will. I think it was God's will, although maybe I'm sometimes a little bit slow in my reactions to God's will. He knows it. We have our personal relation. I got married a little bit late, if you look at time. Some of my friends and family also, they got married earlier. If I knew I wanted to get married, whatever conditions in my life, I think I would have tried to get married earlier so that I could be friends and young with my children. I see one of my friends, when he got married, I think he was 22. He got a son age 24. So when he was 30, his son was 6-7 years old. I'm now 40 and my son is 6-7 years old. He could play a lot better than maybe I could play now with my son. These aspects also, because we get older. We grow also. Time doesn't stop for us. And this aspect of life also. And to have not only one, maybe more children, if God grants, to see the richness of family. But today, society tries to blind us. And when I say society, the head adversary enemy, it's our enemy, the devil, who wants to keep everything away from God's will to happen. God says marriage, he brings man and woman together. The devil says, no, I want to bring them away from each other. God says make children, family. He says, no, let's try to do this. Let's try to ruin that. So I would say try to put God in the middle of your life and try to fulfill his will more than our will. It is difficult. We cannot carry. To say it's a sin, it's difficult. But please have an ambition. I say this to all couples. Please try to have an ambition to do it.
Thank Abuna. One last question before we go to the next subject I have is that there is an idea, especially in the West. I think it comes from specifically from the left-wing movement from the United States, that marriage is like a patriarchal oppression for women instead of a partnership, and that marriage is one of the institutions within Western world that is based on a patriarchy where men have it good and women are oppressed. What do you have to say to these accusations? And specifically, the church gets attacked by this because we, as a church, try to uphold the institution of marriages and thus, according to that logic, uphold the patriarchy.
This is ideology. This is ideology. I'm not an advocate of God because God doesn't need advocates, but I'm some kind of instrument in his hand. God creates marriage, founds marriage. I'm an advocate of marriage. I want to say God's plan. If we come to ideology, people can think about better ways to live. People can think about that humankind needs to evolve and get better and have ideas of how we live in this world together. God's plan will remain God's plan. And God founds everything on love. And I think that we have enough instructions and tools to be able to live good if we follow God's plan. But human is human. But ideologies, there are also ideologies that are wrong and ideologies that go against God's will. Also, in purpose, it's their purpose to be against God's will, and it's very comfortable. It's very easy to give accusations. I don't address these, let's say, accusations directly, or this movement or that ideology. In common, it's very easy to give these kinds of ideologistical accusations or factors to mention them and say marriage is patriarchy, marriage is against women, marriage is against this, marriage, and then you can continue and go on, and this is also what we see happens in society. You can go on and go on and go on until you have nothing left. And even they will divide within themselves because they don't follow God's plan. Apparently, marriage was founded by God in the beginning of creation, and apparently it still lives. So if anyone has any better ideology that truly can replace God's plan, be my guest. I think you will fail. And you will fail miserably.
Would you say, Abuna, that marriage is, because some will say that a man has more rights within a marriage, or would you say that marriage is more of a cooperation between a man and a woman?
How you live your marriage in reality, that's between husband and wife.
All right.
It's an agreement. But God created man as a gender, woman as a gender. He gave each of them a role in life, biologically, naturally, but also in life. And he gave each of them. It's not about equality. Man and woman are equal, created human beings. Each one of them has their own role within marriage, also outside of marriage. They have their own role and their own responsibility. Todi. A man cannot bear children. End of discussion. How much a man wants to put himself above a woman, he will still be born by a woman. It's God's plan.
Well, just to point out the craziness of the world, that would be considered a controversial statement to say that a man cannot bear a child.
Okay.
So
we have a minority of people. I want to say this. It's not a majority of people, but they are sometimes loud.
Right.
We have a minority of people who say this. I don't care. But unfortunately, they are a little bit loud in their voice. Don't listen to them. Listen to God. Don't listen to me. Listen to God. But a woman can bear children. From God intended, naturally intended. We see it, we live it, end of discussion. Whatever other human beings want to change in that, they are doing wrong. They are fulfilling their own thoughts, ideas, whatever. Let them do. And where were we going at? Men cannot bear children. A man can also not put himself above a woman. He will be born by a woman. So it's a controversy even if a man would say, I hate women. You hate your origin. You can't. But a woman can also not take the role of the man and the responsibility of the man. And if we say we are faithful, if we say God is the source of everything, if we say we are Christian, then we also need to follow God's plan. And if God says the man is the head of the family, he doesn't say that the woman is a slave. He said the role of the man is to be head of the family. But that doesn't mean that in reality, how do we live the dynamics within our household? It's not corrected or um, what's it called?
It's flexible.
It's flexible. It's not being bordered by that. So maybe the man says, I'm the head of the family, but I give you the wallet. You run the economy. You're good at the numbers, better than me. Perfect. Does it work out for both of you? But if the woman would say, give me the wallet, and the man says, honey, the wallet is in my hand, the economy is not in my hand, I don't need to give it to you. And if you ask for it like that, then we have a problem. That means that there's already a structural, fundamental problem or issue. I can tell you one example. I know some couples. I know some people. I know 3 couples who are above our generations. These 3 women in these couples, families, they are strong women. Okay? Their husbands, their men, they are not weak men, but they are a little bit one step back. They have chosen, not the women has taken. I know it. The man has chosen to put more of the responsibility in the hand of the woman. And they are fine with that. And their dynamics is perfect. But the woman, she knows how to respect her husband. I saw it very close by. The man was sitting and the woman was arguing with the children. They were a little bit young adult children, whether to do this or to do that. They were going to some place and they were arguing, giving and taking back and forth. And in the end, the man, he was watching TV, sitting on his sofa, nothing bad, just sitting and watching something on TV. He stood up, closed TV, and he said with a very light voice, but he was decided. He said, wife, children, get dressed, we will be heading. Directly, everything was time out, stop, like pause. Directly, the wife, the woman, the mother of the children who normally didn't want to go, children, you heard your father, get dressed, we are going. She prepared herself, got dressed, everything, check, in auto, going. You have the dynamics. She has everything in her hand. I know this woman. Everything. The keys of the house, the keys of the car, the wallets, the bank cards, the keys of heaven. She has everything in her hand.
Sounds like average woman to me.
No. We can't teach my wife these things.
We can cut it out.
Mariam. I was just kidding, Mariam. No. But really, she has everything. He entrusts her with everything blindly. And that is also love. Trust, love. He has no centimeter, millimeter doubt that something bad will come out of this from his wife. But she respects him. Whenever he says, not only with an angry voice, or he says, we will now do this, they will do it. So,
in conclusion, we can say men and women have their responsibilities
and their roles.
And their roles, and within the marriage,
reality.
Yeah, they can play
Definitely.
with these responsibilities, but the natural order as intended by God should always be respected.
Should be respected, most definitely, and let no one of them take their right. Then you have a wrong way of doing it. Most definitely. Then you will get clash and problem. Not the woman try to take her, not even try to take her own right. Let the man give it to her. But definitely not to take the right of the man, or the role of the man, or the responsibility of the man. You have a broken marriage. It will be broken. Hopefully you can repair it, but don't even fall there. And the man, same thing. There are some things the man doesn't need to take or need to be in charge of. Trust your wife also a little bit. But the small details of how to fixing it in reality, they need to learn it, grow it, and do it. But let definitely God's natural plan, roles, and responsibilities remain. then you will have a blessed marriage.
Perfect. Tawti Abuna. Talking about responsibilities, I think we're good for another break. Because I just missed 3 calls from my wife, and she's very pregnant at the moment. So I need to check up if everything is okay.
If I may make the last joke, but also reality. If your wife calls or texts, always answer. So you're definitely entitled to a break.
Yeah, thank you.
May God bless her with good health.
Barakallah.